Everybody ready? Well, thank you all for coming. I want to express my sincere condolences to all the families, friends, and teachers at the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. You know, as a father and someone who spent been married for many, many years to a kindergarten teacher, this affects me very directly and very personally, and it's horrific. It's unfathomable why someone would do this, and it just causes us every day to be thankful and to be aware of what's going on in our community and reach out to our loved ones. And just again, to those who are grieving today, we send them our very, very sincere condolences. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Mew and then Dr. Browder, and if you have questions afterwards, we'll entertain them. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all for coming today. I understand there's some interest on your part about Anchorage and what we do here. And as many of you know, I've had the opportunity to work both in the police department and for 6.5 years over at the school district, trying to get both organizations ready for just these sorts of matters, as well as other problems such as do that every time. Other natural disasters, is not just man-made ones. So I think it's a good time for us to talk about a lot of the preparations and efforts that we've done here. I think everyone knows, I hope everyone knows, that every school has an emergency plan. Those plans cover 18 to 20 different scenarios, including the kind of thing you saw today. The schools have school resource officers, and we work diligently to keep ahead of indications of trouble in advance so that we can forestall tragedies when we can, and to train and plan for responses in case something happens that we haven't been able to prevent. So one of our messages today, and I think this is a good time to think about these things, is it's really, really important for students and parents to pass on information when it becomes available to them. I don't know in this case in Connecticut what information was available, and I'm not suggesting there was something, but in many of these situations there's information, we call it leakage in the trade, and that information, if kids know it, if they have any kind of indication of something that's brewing in schools that needs to go, they need to be encouraged to tell school staff, tell principals, tell their SROs, because preventing these things from happening is much more effective and much more pleasant than having to respond to them after the fact. So you may have more specific questions for us, and we'll be happy to answer them, but I think that's, if there's a teachable moment in this right now, that's maybe a good time for us to talk about those things. So Dr. Browder?
That way. Flank.
Like the mayor and the chief, I'm saddened based on the events that occurred in another community in the great United States of America. These are times that are very concerning for all of us. As the chief said, we have emergency action plans in every school in our community, as I'm sure the community did that we're talking about. I just want to reiterate that for the parents out there, if you're concerned, please contact your school principal. We as a community will stand up and do everything we can to assure that our children are safe and sound when they come to school. I'm deeply saddened by these events, and it's, as the chief said, gives us time to pause and think about the things that we need to do to continue to assure the safety of the children in our state and our community.
Dr. Browder, does the district have a head of security right now? Is that position filled?
No, ma'am. Mike Abbott stands in that position. We've realigned some of our responsibilities, and Mike is the person that takes that responsibility. We've also disseminated some of the clerical work to operations inside of Mike's area. So Mike and many of his directors take the responsibility of assuring that we're checking the plans and doing things of that nature.
but we don't have a specific security. Is that one of the positions that we, for cost-cutting measures, we've kind of allocated to other people?
We have absolutely collapsed that position into Mike's position. Mike, as I said, is the person that's been overseeing that for the 3 years he's been here with the district, and it's a position that we value, and it's also a position that he takes seriously in relation to his responsibility to schools and to others inside the district.
We heard that some of the schools were practicing some of the procedures if something like this might happen. Somebody came in and said, I heard one of the schools was on lockdown today in practice because this happened. Is that true, and where was this happening?
It was just by chance. One of the things that our principals do is on a regular basis, they practice lockdown drills and other type of drills to make sure that everybody in their individual schools practices emergency situations. And it is true that I'm aware of at least one school that was in doing the lockdown practice this morning. I think it was right before this happened in Connecticut.
Dr. Browder, I'm wondering, are teachers or school district staff talking to students about this incident, and how does that work, and is it different for different age groups?
Absolutely. The teachers in this system have a real sense of these are very, these times are extremely sensitive for children and actually for parents. I've received numerous communications from parents already concerned about safety in our system. I can just reiterate that we are diligent in assuring that everybody that's in our schools, we have a system to make sure that we're looking to see who's there, and the teachers and principals will be reaching out. Actually, we've sent some things to parents just in the last 2 hours, saying to them, if you need help, please contact your principal. So that we can do the things that a lot of, I have a daughter in Atlanta that called me today. She's a guidance counselor, and she's very upset. She's in an elementary school, and she was very emotional around, my goodness, Dad, you know, I don't know what to do in situations like this sometimes. What's my role? So pertinent question in relation to, are we doing those things in our schools to assure that students, teachers, and parents have support?
Well, I mean, what is the teacher's role? And I wonder, you know, is it left up to the parents to convey these things? And I wonder about the younger kids. I mean, do the teachers even talk to them about these kind of things?
Well, today won't be the day, most likely, that there's discussion. It'll be after the youngsters go home, they talk to their parents. Monday is the day that I'll be most concerned about the discussions, and we'll have our teachers prepare for that. In those cases in high schools where that information is out there, high school teachers, guidance counselors, and administrators are prepared to do that, as all of us are in any situation like this.
Are you able to say what the actual plan in place is? What steps would someone take in ASD if something like this happened?
Well, as I said, every school has an emergency action plan required by state law, and as the chief said, we follow those plans. Those are things that we don't discuss. We have the plans, and if parents want to talk about that with the principal of the school, I would suggest that they go in and take that time. This is going to bring some uncertainty for families and angst. The reason we're here today is to try to reassure our community and tell them that we are going to be diligent in protecting every student in this system and every citizen in this community.
Dr. Browder, are there measures in place to prevent weapons from being brought into elementary schools?
Well, they're inside of elementary, middle, and high schools. We don't have metal detectors. We depend on either security personnel inside the school or other adults in the school, and we depend on them that if someone comes in, they're asking and talking to them, and they have to sign in. Like any school in any community, the wrong person could find a way in, and those are the kind of things that really concern all of us, and being diligent and reminding people to pay attention. We've sent something to every staff member. Be vigilant in your paying attention to what's going on around you. It is critical that we all, even as a citizen driving down the street, if you see the wrong thing happening at a business or school, stop the car and call somebody. I mean, it is critically important that we as a community take ownership for these kind of things.
Are there SROs at the elementary level, or what kind of contact do they have with the security system at ASD?
There are 16 SROs and a sergeant and a lieutenant assigned to the SRO program. So they start with 2 SROs assigned to each high school. They have an office in each high school. But they're responsible not only for the high school, but all the feeder schools. Typically, that's 1 or 2 middle schools, depending on which high school you're talking about, and
8 to 10.
8 to 10 elementary schools. And they split their time between those, so they may be in any of the schools at any given time that would fall under their little jurisdiction. One thing to remember, not to get too technical here, but we've talked about metal detectors in schools for years, and it's very easy for people to seize on one thing that's very simple to say, oh, put a metal detector at the front door. But in order to make that work, you have to basically redesign the entire building. I mean, you notice when they went after September 11th and airports started doing this, all airports were under construction because these schools were built before these considerations were important to folks. And I don't know how many back doors they have, but a high school might have 60 or 80 back doors. So it doesn't do any good at all to have a very complex, slow, methodical screening process at the front door when anybody can go in, push the door open, take the weapon from their buddy at any one of the 100 back doors, and you just defeated the whole system. So until you can guard all those, alarm all those, or make those doors not exist, which is a problem for fire code, you're probably talking about rebuilding the building. So it's a difficult thing to actually achieve in any sort of a effective way. It's easy to say, very difficult to do. And that's if you decide that you actually want to slow the process down as much as it takes to get to school. If you can imagine going to school every day is as bad as getting to your airplane. It's a big step to take. So far in Anchorage, we haven't felt that the situation justifies that sort of expense or inconvenience. We think that prevention is still workable here, and that we've got a very good track record of keeping our pulse on things and getting ahead of them. Doesn't work 100% of the time, but we've got a pretty good history there, and so that's been our strategies to date.
Dr. Browder, can you just elaborate on the communication that went out to parents or teachers? What has been done now?
Well, Heidi has been working on that all morning and afternoon. As you know, we were in a meeting with the Assembly and the Mayor, and just making sure that we're touching as many bases as we can this afternoon to reassure parents, to give teachers that additional support, to just remind people again and again at the opening, at the beginning of the school year with principals. One of the big items that we discussed is take the time to go through your drills to make sure that you practice these kind of things. I hope we never deal with an issue like this, but practice will be the key inside of how we manage a situation like this, and having everybody have a sense of what is my responsibility in an emergency, and that could be an earthquake or anything else.
One of the things that if you listen to your scanners, you may be aware of is not only do we do drills, but schools go into stay put and lockdown frequently because of police activity in the area. And so they're getting some sort of real-time practice, and the police department is getting practiced on these plans as well. If we're chasing a criminal in the area, animal calls, bears, moose, usually though it's chasing a burglar or somebody in the area. We don't want somebody running into a school creating a problem inside of the school. So they often, our officers on the street are communicating with the principal, and they're initiating these plans on a not infrequent basis. I won't say every day, but we have been pretty, I think, effective at using the plans at every chance we get.
Dr. Browder, I had a question for you.
Yes.
It's probably too early, obviously, with this to say what lessons might be learned from this, but in general, when events like this happen in the country, does it cause you to sort of reevaluate what you're doing here and how?
The mayor said it, the chief said it, I'll say it again. Anytime something like this happens, as a former high school principal, as I recall other incidents like this, it just makes my stomach churn, as it does every administrator, every parent, every teacher in this system. So we'll all look critically at our process procedures, and we'll assure that we're talking and making sure that we're doing everything we can to protect the children in this community, as well as other citizens.
I'm just curious, like, what sort of an example of what changes maybe in the past have been made?
Well, as you look at something like this, you go back to who's greeting people that come in the front door. How do you handle that? Are doors propped open? Let's make sure they're shut. It's just that there are just a myriad of things that we'll think about now to assure safety of students and the adults that work in our schools.
Where were you when you heard about this, and what was your initial reaction?
I was down here, and my stomach gets upset quickly when I think about, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about the families of those youngsters. I'm thinking about the youngsters. I'm thinking about the teacher. I'm thinking about, oh my gosh, how horrific is this for a community and all of us to have to think about.
I think it's also fair to say that once the facts of this case are known, like preceding cases, schools and police departments will get an opportunity to learn what actually occurred and learn from these experiences. The National Institute of Justice runs kind of the umbrella organization that does this, and the school safety technical working group will review this. That group is made up of practitioners from school security. There's principals, there's chiefs of police on that group, and that information will be disseminated. And every time one of these things happens, there's a whole new wave of new ideas and new thoughts that come forward. But we don't know anything yet about this one, and don't know what, if any, changes will come out of it. But you can be assured that there will be a review process that gets information back to schools, school districts, and police departments.
Mr. Mayor? Any other questions, folks? Well, thank you so much for coming, and again, send your thoughts and prayers to the folks of Newtown, Connecticut today. Thank you.